name is Kim Moran, and welcome to LINcast, a LINEC podcast with conversations exploring the latest research and innovation behind actuators and movement. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Joseph Wheeler, who's the professor of architecture and co-director for the Center for Design Research at Virginia Tech. He has an impressive background with Virginia Tech for the past 27 years, and he's the lead faculty member for Future House. Future House encompasses a team of 100 cross-disciplinary Virginia Tech students and faculty who designed and developed this award-winning state-of-the-art modular home. So welcome, Joseph. So good to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
I'd love to kick things off because some people may not know about Future House. So could you talk a little bit about this 900 square foot Future House, how it came about, and maybe what are some of the benefits of this intelligent home?
Well, we have a strong history here at Virginia Tech to teach architecture, primarily architecture, but a lot of collaboration with other areas, other disciplines of building things, to learn by doing, learn by building. Since 2002, Virginia Tech, primarily led by the architecture program and my work, we have entered the solar decathlon competitions that have been hosted by the Department of Energy. What it calls for is a very small house, around 600 to 900 square feet, that are powered by the sun and that are energy positive. So the very challenging competition calls for the students to not only design the home, not only to make it energy efficient and sustainable, but to actually build it and perform with it. So the competition calls for universities from around the world to build these small houses, started on the National Mall, to gather on the mall with these built houses for 1 to 2 weeks and actually test them out. Juries come in and they judge the architecture and engineering, a subjective category, but then they wire up the house and monitor all of the performance. So it's called a decathlon because there are 10, very difficult events. At the end of the day, the teams that score the most points in all 10 events and have the total number of points win the competition. So I'm proud to say, Virginia Tech, where we started, our first house in 2002, we got 5th place overall in the competition. In 2007, we got 3rd place. But then in 2010, when we went to the first Solar Decathlon Europe competition and competed against many European teams, which brought on another really challenge, we won 1st place overall, and that was with Illumina House. Recently, and as now it seems to be more distant, but in 2018, we came back and competed in the inaugural Solar Decathlon Middle East competition. Again, placed 1st in that. After winning that competition, we were invited to bring the house back to Dubai. This is after it already came back home, halfway across the world. We were invited back to exhibit the house at the World's Fair, which just ended just a few months ago. So we were there in Dubai at the World's Fair for 6 months with 16 students, showing off this house and introducing about a million visitors through the house. It's over 1 million. It was very challenging, but also rewarding at the same time. So the Solar Decathlon, with the challenges of being energy positive, you have the whole side of solar technology and energy efficient systems and appliances and lighting. But along with it, by the nature of it, with the challenge of it being energy efficient, it also should be small, because the smaller houses use less energy. Well, the challenge with being small is space planning. And how do you make the most out of a small space? Now, this is a great challenge for my students of architecture, because they should always, be kind of efficient with their space planning. You don't want to design too big of a house, right? And so it's built into the rules with 600 to 800 square feet, 600 and 900 square feet, that, this is where we start. In fact, I'm teaching a class right now, and we're starting off a new event. And those students, you think it's hard to build these things. The space planning is extremely hard for young students who are new at designing. And along with that challenge, I introduced to the students concepts of flex space, smart space, and aging in place. All like go hand in hand. The pandemic brought on another challenge of people working at home and not going into the office but staying at home, with the kids, with the family all around. And how are you creative with how you use your space in your own home to make offices? And if you look at Future House, you'll see probably 15 examples of how we did really well in this competition and designed some great strategies for space efficiency.
Mm-hmm. What I thought was interesting, Joe, is just the collaboration you had at the university. I mean, if you want to just talk a little bit about that, but you pulled in the engineering department, so you're obviously dealing with mechanical issues. You pulled in industrial design, isn't that correct? You had an architecture. Are there any other departments that were a part of this?
We reached across 5 colleges, the 5 colleges at the university. Of course, with with the design, we have all of the programs within the architecture college, and that would be industrial design, interior design, landscape architecture, and planning. Outside of the university, we're working with multiple departments in engineering, such as industrial systems engineering, because this is a prefab house that's proposed to be factory built. We're working with mechanical and electrical engineering for just the basic systems of the house, the electrical and mechanical. But then there is also computer science and computer engineering, because if you're going to build a house today, our goal is to build it like this. It's got to be smart. And it was another challenge, and I think this is a challenge that goes along with our research in general, is when you see a Tesla driving down the road and you understand how a Tesla is built on an assembly line, and when you sit inside a Tesla, you immediately know that you're driving something that incorporates the technologies of the day. The current technologies. We are cutting edge. I mean, we're on the edge of self-driving cars, right? However, when you step inside even a new home today, what do you see? Recessed can lights, drywall, just it's the same thing, and it has been the same thing year after year after year. And a lot of work that I do with industry, with the construction industry, it's not just the technology, but it's also the attitude that stays behind. Because when you propose doing something new and different and innovative, and it challenges just doing something, it calls for you doing something just differently, like an alternative to drywall. And then you get this reaction. The reaction is like, we've been doing this the same way for so many years. Why would we change it? This works, and we're doing it that way. And it's also why taking this on at the university level is an opportunity, because with the students, we don't immediately face those challenges. They're somewhat isolated from that. But then at the same time, and running on, but at the same time, the collaboration with the industry along with these student projects is where it really clicks. That's with LINcast. That's with Mitsubishi. That's with Lutron. all of the groups we work with, and this is even builders and developers. I didn't forgot to mention building construction, but that's when they come in and we work together, and we make sure as we work together we're moving forward, we're not moving backward. So anyway, I kind of strayed away from your question, but it was multiple colleges, and to continue with that, we worked with the School of Business, and also the School of Gerontology. Why does that come into play? Because with the whole concepts, all the concepts of aging in place, we're looking at, hey, what's the best thing we can do with technology is to accommodate our elderly, or to design a home that you can live in from when you're born until the senior years of your life. The one thing that's traumatic in any of my experiences in life is to see an elderly couple have to move out of their home because they can no longer the house can no longer accommodate them. And the best way to spend the last years of your life is in your own home, not in a senior care facility. It's in your own home. So it's one of the challenges that the students face when we design these. And we use the LINAC technology in a lot of cases to address some of these challenges.
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up too, is because when you're talking about aging in place or inclusive design, universal design, that is top of mind in the design community when they're obviously doing product develop or when they're obviously doing a project. So we're going to be showing a video so people can see, how amazing this home is in terms of movement. But can you talk about how it responded to some of those needs so that people could stay in their house, or so that the home adapted to their needs so that they were more comfortable?
Yes, probably the most important areas is in the kitchen and in the bathrooms. An example would be, we took a wall-mounted toilet, collaborate with Kohler on all of our bathroom and kitchen fixtures. They're very interested in what's next in their products, especially with AI and digital interfacing. But we took the toilet, and it's a wall-mounted toilet, but we actuated the frame for that wall-mounted toilet within the wall. So we end up with a sit-to-stand toilet. So it can lower very close to the floor and accommodate a child who may be potty training, or you can sit in it at a high level for grandma, right? The sit-to-stand operation. And then once she's safely sat on the toilet, you can actually lower it to the proper height for her to use that toilet, ergonomically correct height. And then when it's time to get up, you've got the stand assist, so you can use technology to help her stand up safely. The vanity in the bathroom, a very similar thing. If you have a husband and a wife in a house that are different heights, the bathroom vanity can raise and lower to accommodate that individual person. We've been working on a lot of interfaces, a lot of automatic interfaces where you don't have to physically control a switch or a button to adjust the height. That could just walk in, and the mirror can recognize who you are and make that adjustment for that person. So a child brushing their teeth, or the young basketball player fixing his hair, right? So we also use the LINAC actuators to make pretty much all of the cabinetry in the house adjustable. The kitchen, and probably the to me, my favorite is the adjustment of the upper cabinet above the sink in the kitchen. It's a 9-foot wide cabinet, and it can raise and lower to where someone in a wheelchair who may be using the kitchen can actually reach the top shelf of that cabinet when it's fully brought down to the countertop. But again, a child wanting to unload the dishwasher, they can lower the upper cover down and put the glasses where they belong, right? Or just the difference of a tall, a tall couple, or tall and a short couple.
Mm-hmm.
If the upper, right, which is more of an on-demand kind of uh, action, right? Because it's not an AI thing. It would have to be called for. So you would say cabinet, lower to the lowest setting, or cabinet raise up. The base cabinet is different because that is going to adjust according to whoever's using it automatically. So, it's those kind of examples. We would never be able to explore these ideas if we didn't physically build a house and physically test a house. And it's a lot of LINAC's cooperation with us, that, hey, we're working on this concept. Can we have, or what type of actuators can we use that would make this work? And so we spent lots of time. In fact, Jim Thomas would come to visit us in Blacksburg and look at the projects and say, oh, you need, whatever. He'd call it out on the catalog. And the next day we'd have that product and we'd be installing it and prototyping it and testing it and making sure it worked. Another area is, and now this is away from the aging in place, but it's very important for space efficiency, is the bed design and the moving walls. So we have a Murphy bed, and the Murphy bed is able to deploy to the normal bed position or draw up and reveal a mirror that's mounted on the backside. It's not just a mirror, it's a smart mirror it's actually a smart wardrobe mirror. Allows you to identify where in the house your articles of clothing are. So in the morning you get up and you can scroll through it and say, I want to wear that shirt. It'll tell you where that shirt is in the house. But it's not just an ordinary bed. It's a Sleep Number 360 bed, which you never see as a Murphy bed. You never see an Actuate 360 because that bed is extremely heavy. Well, you have the right actuator, the weight's no longer an issue. And so we were able to work with LINAC to design the whole system that made the deployable, Murphy bed with a bed that's smart and a bed that fits with the technology of the house. So, that smart bed alone does so much. It monitors your heart rate. It monitors your REM sleep. We can tie the technology of the bed into a lot of the monitoring that we use as a whole house, kind of in the area topic of telemedicine.
Mm-hmm. So interesting. Gosh, and I know as a parent with teenagers, I think that would be fantastic to know where their clothes are. Because most of them are probably going to be on the floor. But
Yeah. Well,
uh,
we can track it if it's in the hamper. The floor part is still a problem.
well, we've really enjoyed partnering with you on this project. It's kind of had a life of its own for the past 3 years. So thank you so much for allowing us to take part in it. I kind of want to jump over to, just talking a little bit about, COVID-19 and the pandemic and how that has altered things in so many ways. Um, in terms of flexibility around, hybrid work, and also, where we're going from our architecture and product design. Um, how would you say that this project has really been affected because of the pandemic? And is there anything that you had to work through that, a lot of us were all about, how do we adapt and change through this? But I'm really impressed that you were able to even still have the home in Dubai during the pandemic. I mean,
Yeah,
so.
we won't even go there. It was a nightmare. Well, we will go there. I I lost all my students immediately, and we were about 2 months from the house leaving for Dubai. And within the contract of getting this over there, because the UAE paid the whole way. They paid for the students to go over and the house to go over. And one of the arrangements we made with them is that it wouldn't just be the house that was in the decathlon competition in 2018. That would be a house designed for 2020. And so we had a lot of upgrades, electrochromic glass, halio glass, we really beautiful glass that we installed, automating doors. We were able to do a lot of things that we didn't get to in the original competition. And we had the plans to do a lot of this, and then just it's like overnight the students were gone.
And the
COVID
students
hit.
because
They went home. They all
they
went
had to go home,
because
right?
all the classes went online, and the parents like, we're going to get you back here. And it was me, myself, and I, 3 people trying to, and that's not fair because there were a few students, loyal students, who hung around and were able to help me here and there. But, even a challenge with the university because they were wanting to limit the activity on campus. I had to get special permission to state this as a essential project in order to get a few of the helpers that I needed, and for me to go there and work on it. And so it was long days of getting this thing ready to go on the boat. Well, about a month and a half into that, and I knew this was going to happen, but the expo was postponed because it's a world pandemic, and they were realizing if we have the World's Fair now, no one's going to show up, right? It's going to be empty. So they decided to postpone it for a year. And that was one of the happiest days of my life because that gave me the time, a whole nother year to continue to work on it and get it ready for the fair. And then the students came back later, and we were able to do some amazing things. But as far as the pandemic and how it affected our project, if anything, it just reinforced what we were doing with the architecture of small space. And especially with LINC and the type of products for desks and sit to stand and adjustability in furniture that everyone was scrambling to set up their offices at their home. I mean, I was down in the basement with my son, and he was over here, in his 6th grade class, and I was over there with my graduate students, right? In the same room, and challenging as well because how do you, within the same room, how do you keep from, how do you maintain privacy and the quiet that you need for a very important Teams meeting. And so the challenge is, how do you design either an ADU, a tiny home that could be a satellite office for you, in the future? Because after the pandemic, we noticed it didn't go away. It's we're still, many of us are still working a couple of days of the week at home. Well, we have to have that space. And a lot of times that space has to come from our existing house, and we have to, think small space and think, how we can accommodate an office within a residence. In our house, we have a sit to stand desk. It's really beautiful. It's essentially we have a series of walls that move back and forth. So I talked about the Murphy bed on one side. There's the Murphy bed, a wall that's actually a closet that can move back and forth. Then a wall that's an AV wall that has a television mounted in it, and that television can swing into face both directions, whichever room you're in, whichever side of the wall you're in. And then we have the home office. Well, that home office has a sit-to-stand desk where when you raise that desk, you can pull out a table that's stowed underneath there, and then you can lower that desk, and then you have a double desk kind of executive office suite. You can move that AV wall further, and you can borrow the dining room table from the dining room, which is easily deployable. It's on wheels. And then you can have a full-blown office with the executive desk and a conference room. That TV is now faced the office space, so you use the TV for the team's meetings. But then when the family comes home at the end of the day, you can slide the AV wall over, raise your sit to stand desk, put the other desk under, and stow the AV wall up against the wall. Your bills, your paperwork, everything can just stay there. But now you have a clean living room and now the dining room table to prepare for, the kids when they come home from school. So we did all of this. I mean, amazing. The house is 900 square feet, but probably in a 12-foot by 30-foot space, we were able to get a full office, a full living room, and a full bedroom. And that would change throughout the day. And all of these walls are automated. So you would go to the wall and you would just select what scenario you wanted. Big office, small living, press the button, and you could just sit back and watch it, make its adjustment.
Considering how much space you have in how flexible it is, but that's obviously the beauty of it. So I guess one last question. So what's next for Future House?
Well, I said earlier, for Future House, see, all of our projects are never, the final project. And we see them as research prototypes where we learn a lot of valuable information that we can apply to the next house. And then the next house. It's like the new model of the Tesla that's coming out, right? So, we don't want for it to get, to stagnate, in time. We've got to continue to move forward. So right now I have a team of 15 students, and we're designing the next solo decathlon project. We have gone way beyond solo decathlon. We use the solo decathlon as the basic project, but we see the integration of technologies as very important. We see affordability as very important, and we see modular construction as very important. And so my students are struggling right now because, they're coming from, a previous year where they barely could design a building. And with this studio, they're challenged to think of all these other constraints. And I mean, they absolutely have to be skilled at space planning to start this out. So multiple weeks in, they're still struggling just with floor plans. But by the end of the year, one of those students will have developed the next generation Virginia Tech solar house. And you can bet that we'll have some LINAC in there as long as your company continues to support us.
We'd love to. Well, how exciting. I'm once again, thank you so much for taking the time with us today, Joseph. Really proud to partner with you, and I'm so excited to see where Virginia Tech is taking architecture in the future. So on behalf of LINcast, I'm Kim Moran. I'd love to thank you for joining us today. And also, I'd love to have you join us at Orgatech in Cologne, Germany, where we're going to be featuring Future House. We're going to be in Hall 10.1 in booth C50. I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much.